While the rest of Denver was fast asleep, tucked away in the quiet of a cold Wednesday night, something was brewing inside the Broncos headquarters that could dictate exactly how this playoff run ends. It wasn't a blockbuster trade or a headlining firing, but it was a move so calculated it has the fingerprints of Sean Payton all over it. The front office was grinding behind closed doors, making a chess move that most people would overlook on a standard transaction wire. But if you look close, because what just happened could either be a masterstroke of genius or a desperate gamble to save a unit that's teetering on the edge. The news hit the wires Wednesday morning, and it sent a ripple through the facility. The Denver Broncos officially announced the arrival of Nash Jones to the practice squad. Now, most casual fans might hear that name and shrug. But for those who follow the tape, this is a name that carries weight. We're talking about a man who stands 6 feet 5 inches tall and tips the scales at 320 pounds. He is a literal human wall, a mountain of muscle designed for one thing: neutralizing the fastest pass rushers in the NFL. But the real mystery isn't just who he is. It's why he's here now. Why would the Broncos bring in a guy who was just cut by a division rival right as the playoff race hits a fever pitch? There's a lot more at stake here than just a practice squad jersey. And if you don't understand the history between this player and our coaching staff, you're missing the biggest part of the story. You see, the Broncos didn't just discover Nash Jones yesterday. This isn't some shot in the dark. Our scouts have been essentially stalking his progress since way back in March, long before he ever put on a Chargers uniform. Jones was right here in Denver for an official top 30 visit. For those who aren't deep in the weeds of NFL scouting, those visits are reserved for the elite prospects a team is truly considering drafting. They poked, they prodded, and they interviewed him months ago. They did their homework while the rest of the league was sleeping. So when the Chargers decided to let him walk, George Payton didn't hesitate. He knew exactly what he was getting because he'd already seen the medicals and the personality profile. It's almost as if the Broncos were just waiting for their rival to make a mistake so they could pounce. And that leads to a much more controversial question. Is Nash Jones just a player? Or is he a source of intel? Think about it. He spent the entire preseason and the first half of the year inside the Los Angeles Chargers locker room. He knows their signals, he knows their defensive tendencies, and he knows exactly how Jim Harbaugh wants to attack. In a division as tight as the AFC West, that kind of inside information is worth its weight in gold. By bringing Nash Jones into the building now, the Broncos aren't just getting a 320-pound blocker. They're getting a blueprint for one of their biggest obstacles. But even if you ignore the spy theories, the physical tape on this guy is enough to make any defensive coordinator lose sleep. When you watch Nash Jones play, the first thing that jumps out is his explosive first step. It's rare to see a man that large move with that kind of twitch. The moment the ball is snapped, he's already engaged. In the run game, he's a nightmare. He played his college ball at Texas State, where he was the absolute anchor of that offensive line, starting every single game at left guard and earning accolades across the conference. Scouts specifically highlighted his ability as a puller. He's the guy you see sprinting across the formation to clear a path for the running back, absolutely decleating linebackers who are half his size. For a Sean Payton offense that relies on precision and timing in the run game, a guy with Nash's mobility is a dream come true. But there is a reason he was available, and it's the one thing that could make this move backfire. The scouting reports on Nash weren't all sunshine and rainbows. There's a dark side to his game that he's been fighting to fix since he left college. While he's a beast in the run game, his pass protection has been described as inconsistent. He has a habit of playing too high, which lets technical defenders get under his pads and drive him backward. His hand placement has been called sloppy, leading to holding penalties that kill drives. But here's the thing about Sean Payton. He's a developer. He doesn't need a finished product on the practice squad. He needs a lump of clay he can mold. He's betting that the Broncos coaching staff can iron out those wrinkles and turn this undrafted rookie into a reliable starter by 2026. However, the Broncos don't just have an O-line project on their hands. They're also welcoming back a defensive weapon who has been ghosting the roster for weeks. While everyone was focused on the new guy, the Broncos also made a massive move on the defensive side of the ball. They officially designated linebacker Kareem Reed to return from the injured reserve. This starts a 21-day ticking clock. The team now has 3 weeks to decide if he's healthy enough to hit the 53-man roster or if his season is officially over. Reed hasn't been seen on the field since week 10, when a devastating hamstring injury sidelined him. Before that, he was the heartbeat of the special teams unit. He's not your average rookie. He's 25 years old and brings a level of maturity to the locker room that you just don't see from younger players. George Patton has praised his instinct for the ball and his unmatched urgency. With the defense starting to show signs of fatigue, getting a fresh, mature playmaker like Reed back could be the spark that keeps this unit elite through January. But why does any of this matter right now? Because the margin for error has officially vanished. The Broncos are in a dogfight for a playoff spot, where a single loss could result in the entire season being flushed down the drain. We've seen the pass protection look shaky in recent weeks. We've seen our quarterback running for his life because the pocket collapsed in a split second. If one of our starting guards goes down with a rolled ankle, the season shouldn't have to end. That's why Nash Jones is here. He's the insurance policy for a championship run. He's the break glass in case of emergency option. And in the NFL, The emergency usually happens when you least expect it. Think about the psychology of a locker room when these moves happen. When a team is active in December, it sends a message to the veterans. We are not satisfied. It tells the starters that there is young talent breathing down their necks, hungry for a chance to prove they belong. This internal competition is exactly how Sean Payton builds winning cultures. He wants a room full of guys who are terrified of being outworked. Nash Jones is a guy who has been cut, doubted, and overlooked. He's playing for his career. That kind of desperation can be infectious in a practice setting, forcing the starters to sharpen their technique or risk being replaced. And as we head into the final stretch, sharp is the only thing the Broncos can afford to be. As we look at the schedule ahead, every single game is basically a playoff game. There is no room for projects or what-ifs anymore. The front office has made their moves. They've brought in the giant from Texas State. And they've opened the door for their mature linebacker to return to the fray. These aren't just names on a piece of paper. They are the final pieces of a puzzle that the Broncos have been building since training camp. Whether Nash Jones becomes the next great Broncos lineman or just a footnote in a long season remains to be seen. But one thing is certain. George Patton isn't sitting on his hands. He's swinging for the fences, trying to ensure that when the pressure is at its highest, the Broncos have the depth to survive. So, Broncos country, it's time to face the music. Do you believe these minor moves are enough to shore up the weaknesses that have been exposed over the last month? Or are we just rearranging deck chairs on a ship that's heading for a collision? The arrival of Nash Jones is a signal that the front office knows the O-line is vulnerable. The return of Kareem Reed proves the defense needs more depth. It's a high-stakes game of roster roulette, and the wheel is spinning. Comment down below and let me know if you think Nash Jones is a future star or just a spy for the Chargers game. We read every single one of your takes, and this community is where the real football talk happens. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell, because as the playoffs approach, the news is only going to get crazier. We're in this together, from the first snap to the final whistle. Until next time, keep bleeding orange and blue.